And then finally, Baby. And here's a little spoiler for you guys. I think Baby's going to take it all.
Everybody, Espira, and it is great to be here in front of you all. I just spent the weekend casting the entirety of the North American finals for Dragon Ball Fusion World, and what an exciting time it was. We had the expiration of a brand new format. Literally, it went live on the digital client day right before the tournament, with the actual full release in paper also being that same weekend, leading into a brand new format for this tournament, which a little bit iffy in terms of making sure that players are able to get the access to the cards that they need, but in regards to being able to have something fresh and new and see what players can stew up in their own bubbled meadows without the opportunity to be able to get a ton of data to make their decisions, very interesting. And that is represented in the top cut that we'll be covering over today. Before we jump into the top cut though, I do want to give the flowers necessary to our players. Fantastic play across the board from all the players we saw in Swiss, as well as those that we saw in top cut. Gonna make sure that we have that bracket to come on top there. Congratulations to the top 16 who made it out to day 2. And then finally to the top 4 players who will be representing North America at the World Championship in January. Very excited about that. So when we walk through it, huge kudos to Andrew Duval, our champion, North American champion, of course. And then Nat Trin, Raymond Sierra, and Gabriel Aguilera, who will be representing us at Battle Hour. Very exciting. So with that said, let's jump into what the meta looks like, and then we can take it from there. Kudos to Eggman here for the pie chart. Saves me from having to make it, at least right now while we're recording the videos. Lots of Baby, lots of Androids. Those are the 2 most represented deck, Baby having been the most represented deck in the meta, and then followed by Android. So the fact that they take up their slots in this top cut, not unexpected. And actually, if we look back to my previous video where we talked about the decks that I expect to top, we actually see a lot of that here. The 2 big strays here, I would not have predicted a Beerus deck having made it into the top. And then Halo Ku, I believe, was one that I was a little bit surprised. I knew the blue deck was going to make it, but I really thought that was Starter Vegeta, which there is one there. But we do have 2 Halo Kus also taking up the slot. But outside of that, we've got Bardock and Goku GT as the 2 mid-rangey black decks. Not completely true, as we're going to see as we look through the list and see what Baby is up to. Then we've got the Beerus, we've got the 1 Daima Goku. Congratulations to Dana Reich there on his top 8 placement. And then a pair of Super Boos and a pair of Androids. No surprise there, deck is still incredibly strong. So let's go ahead and take a look at all of the different lists. Thank you to the players for sharing them with me, much appreciated. And we'll be running through what we see from Swiss pairing. So this won't be based on the final results of the tournament, but on the final results of Swiss as they went into top cut. So to kick it off, Random's phenomenal tournament run here for this player, having not dropped a match in the LCQ and then not having dropped a match in Swiss, and then breaking out into top 4 all the way through in top cut. So phenomenal tournament run, especially from someone who did not have their invite. And here we can see an Android list that leans on the defensive quite a bit. We've got the 4 earth-shattering, earth-destroying blows with a couple of Life Hans. We have the 5-drop going here to pop health. And then we've got the 4 of Raditz as well. So a lot of cards here that lean into the defensive components of being able to mitigate board. And then just saying, late game, I'm just going to rely on my big Broly's to be able to close it out. And we saw him do that, precisely that, in top cut. Versus TK top on a Boo, where he just could not do anything. So played it very methodically, played it very slowly in the ability to be able to push out and grind into the late game. And those earth-destroying blows do a ton of work in mitigating what your opponent wants to do. If you're really in a pinch, they'll draw you a card. If not, we saw randoms be able to utilize 2 of them in a turn to be able to ramp to 8 and then use the Broly. So you have the defenses, you're able to ramp into your late game without letting yourself be a little bit more vulnerable to the aggro. So very powerful list here, a lot that we can tune in. I don't know how I feel about the suspect 1 of Lab, but like, okay, sure. Also, funny enough, no Nappa extra card, right? The welcome greeting or something like that, whatever it's called. We'll spin it back up right here. And none of that here, funny enough, saying, you know what, I don't think we're going to face a Jiren. Face a Jiren anyways, and then to find out that his Jiren opponent just opted to never play the 4-drop Jiren because he was like, well, he's just going to get greetings. Little did you know, not running it. So fantastic run here from Randoms. Androids heavily represented. Still a very powerful deck. and I think something that we're going to be seeing in the meta for quite a bit. Moving on over to second, TK Tops playing the Majin Buu list, and it's all out aggro. And I kind of really respect the commitment to the aggro list, saying, hey, if I'm spending my time doing things like playing Final Explosions and so on and so forth, I'm effectively losing out on so much tempo while still not winning the game. And I kind of agree with that, right? If you spend your 3 energy on Final Explosion as a tempo aggressive deck, you do deal with threats that are really hard to, right? Being able to deal, like, let's say a 4-drop SS4 Goku against Black, it really helps out a lot, but you weren't able to apply pressure, and then you're putting them in a position to be able to do it all over again. So while Final Explosion can be a blowout in the right positions, it's also something that you just kind of play out and then pass turn. So we do see the 4 Bananas as well as the tech here. All gas, no breaks, able to apply pressure and then prevent the opponent from being able to attack into that pressure in the early game. We're seeing no Final Explosions, none of the battle tricks that kind of prevent you from doing anything on defense besides the 2 Supernovas, which can get a stun and a little cheeky 20k over on the opponent. So the rest of it, pretty standard for the most part. We've got 1 of a Big Boo, 2 of the Pure Evils, and then the rest of the line as is 4 of all of the relevant Boos. Of course, the big combos here being the Bobbity into the 3-drop, which is able to discard 2 cards from your opponent's hand. And then effectively, we've got the double striker into any of your choices of 3-drops to then be able to extend the plays there. So very nice on TK. All the matches will be live on the Play TCG YouTube channel at some point in the coming weeks. And with that, you guys will have the opportunity to be able to see how TK pilots his deck, plays it incredibly well. Moving on over to Dane Reich, our only Daimagoku. And I like the leader a lot, and this deck is very interesting. A lot of really techy choices here in this strategy. For Dane, right? So we've got like the 1 of 4-drop Jiren, the 1 of Sabai Barrier, the 1 of Double Striker. So there's a couple of things in terms of ratio. We got this Bull or Chi-Chi here, I believe. Yeah, this blocker Chi-Chi that's able to draw us a counter plus a card. So a lot of interesting choices here. But nevertheless, kind of leaning into the power of what Daima can do. And Daimagoku really gives you some really neat synergies in terms of things of like, well, most battle cards are really 25Ks, and whichever one's a 30K, I can kind of pin down and then utilize its over to just have a clean board clear with the leader ability. Really nice method to be able to set that up. And then alternatively, we do have, let me find him, the promo Goku, where it was kind of middling in previous formats, but now we just have a clean way to always have him be a 30K attacker to then be able to net ourselves a draw card. So fantastic engine now for a 3-drop there. And then the rest of the deck is going to do what's going to do for Secret Rare. And honestly, I think we're at a point now where 3 or 4 of this card might be it. This card is everything that we thought it was going to be. It's a phenomenal card. It's a great comeback card. It's a great pressure card. And oftentimes does just give you that free turn. And if you're able to chain them turn over turn over turn once you get to turn 6, it is exactly the top end that red was looking for. Incredibly powerful card. If you do not have your play set yet and you intend on playing red, I highly recommend you jump in and pick up your copies. Otherwise, this does the rest of the red good stuff. We got some Roomshi. We've got the 4-drop new Daimagoku, which is just fantastic stuff. Awakener. We got 2 of the Vegetas to be able to get some pressure, of course, and a mini TOP package to go with Kefla. So fantastic here. Well played. Congratulations. Moving on over, we've got another Androids list here. And this one being a little bit more stock than Random's list that we saw. So Grix is here, operated the deck very, very well, as we saw in Top Cut. 4 of our, so I will say the funny thing about Grixis here is that he very much kind of a throwback variant of the deck where we leaned on a lot of what the set 1 decks were doing. So we've got some Destructive Strengths here, we've got some Vegetas here, which naturally helps a little bit with protecting off the board. And then we lean into new cards like the 4-drop here. And it's honestly just consistency of the deck, and we saw him have flawless turns of being able to ramp through and through. And then finally, we do see here a warm greeting as the tech card to be able to answer things like Jiren and the sort. Alrighty then, moving on over to Miru, and for those of you guys who don't know who Miru is, that is Andrew Duval's TCG Plus name. And here we've got a baby list a little bit different than what we were expecting from maybe. A lot of people in the first couple of weeks of as we were ramping up from pre-release, were leaning on the power of aggressive baby lists. And instead here, Andrew Duval, and we're going to see in Mill as well in these Top Cut deck lists, leaning and deciding that the mid-range strategy that we can lean onto with Baby. I mean, the black decks of previous format were almost there. It really only felt like they were missing a smidge level of additional support or advantage to really be able to get them over the bar of being one of the best decks in the room. And so the mentality here of utilizing the same strategies of the best decks in the room and then adding onto it the additional support from Baby. And I like the logic here, right? So like a lot of people will look at this and be like, oh, this is just a Bardock deck. Oh, this is just a GT list. And we actually see that contrast in the finals of the North American finals. And the big thing there is like, well then if we're doing this, why aren't we just doing GT? So now you have to realize, like, how do turns actually play out in black? And most of your strength comes from your battle cards. So how often are you really using your leader ability as the GT leader? And does that ever net you as much advantage as the few times that you might use your baby ability? So in GT, you might use your energy 1 or 2 times, maybe with the energy marker once, to really get that buff up. It's better against red, but like generally you don't use it too often because you're always trying to play on curve. You have the ability to play into it when you're in the later energy phases, but even then, oftentimes your advantage with your battle cards was probably going to get you there anyways. So if we can account for the fact that your GT lead maybe in a game is maybe using his ability twice, maybe 3 times, and that's really rare for a total of like 30k worth of power that's worth like 2 cards and a half maybe, versus baby. And now we're like, okay, well, what does baby allow us to do? Well, baby allows us to combo the Goten, which can bounce, allows us to combo the Trunks, which is insane. And then you have to think about, okay, so what does Trunks, right? What does comboing Trunks allow us to do? Well, the swing itself is a 20k, that's 1 card from the opponent's hand. And then you get to combo the Trunks himself on another attack, so that's a 5k combo there, so you're demanding a 10k combo from the opponent there. And then Trunks himself on the combo gets to draw you 2 cards. And usually you're able to play Trunks for free off of a battle card like the 4-drop or 3-drop babies, or off of Possessed Boy form. So now you're playing it out for 1 energy. And then the Possessed Boy form is 10k combo anyways in its own right. So now you've got this setup engine that allows you to be able to net, by itself 3.5 cards worth of value, and then you're able to do that 4 times, and you're not tied to having to do that using your energy in the same way that the GT leader is. And now you're seeing that, over the course of a game, and we saw that time and time again with Andrew Duval, where he was able to, by turn 5, utilize GT Trunks like 3 times, which is netting 6 cards in hand, plus the virtual hand advantage you're gaining by forcing cards out of your opponent's hand and via attacking and comboing. Absolutely massive. And then you add the niche opportunities here, being able to do that with cards like Goten to be able to attack an unawakened leader, get a card out of the hand there, and then utilize the ability to be able to bounce something like, say, an SS4 in the mirrors, which we see happen time and time again. So, huge ups to the whole crew from Andrew Duval, Emil, all those players from Florida as well for being on the list and piloting fantastically. The biggest change that Duval said he would make here would be this Gohan. You have a really neat play with Gohan where he allows you to be able to play an extra card with 2 or less for free if you're able to combo him off the board. So you get some really cute plays where you can combo him, and then it gives you the ability to be able to use things like Resisting Destiny for free, which is really cute. But doesn't come up as often as you would hope. And then Bulla here would probably slot better as a self-awakener that is also able to net you an energy marker, which allows you to be able to extend your play. So once again, huge congratulations to Andrew Duval for his placement, and not going to be the last time that we actually see this list as we break down through the rest of Top Cut. So following a win here with the Beerus in the room, and this is just red the deck. So we're seeing a big mishmash here of the protective cards we've seen in Jiren with the cards that we know do well in Beerus, and then a mix of new cards as well. So for Arena here, we've got the 3 God Kamehamehas. Honestly, been putting in a lot of work in this format. You guys would be surprised. 4 of Secret Rare, 2 Double Strikers, 4 of the 3-drop Beerus into the 5-drop Beerus. No surprise there. In terms of new cards, we do have 3 of the Gokus and Friezas, and I still don't know how I feel about this card, but naturally did well for our player here. And then, of course, since we're running a mini package of the Gohan and Caulifla, might as well include the Kefla as well. Then we just clean up our bottom here with some Margarita, as we're used to seeing, and then things like the Daima Goku for our Self-Awakening that also happens to be a 30k. So just red good stuff in and in, and then of course you do have the ability to be aggro with your Cauliflas, swinging crit with your leader, and then potentially blowing your opponent out with this Beerus combo if they play into it. So I can understand how the deck top. It did not predict it because I figured that the format wasn't too friendly to it, but the red cards are strong. It's a big reason why Daima Goku is so good. It's not just because of the leader, but it's because the red cards really carry it a lot. And congratulations to this player for doing it with Beerus. All right, moving on over to GT Goku. Natty Light is actually our semi-finalist in this weekend's tournament. And just GT Goku plus brand new stuff, right? So we've got the 3 Trunks here to be able to protect our board from removal. Was pretty pivotal in quite a few turns in this tournament. We've got 3 of the Gotens. Still 2 Pans, which I think there's value in Pan. I do think if you're going to run the Gotens anyways, because like it's a 10k combo that also is able to do the Pan ability. But I do like the ability to be able to have Pan, who's a 20k. She can draw a card, she can self-awaken. She can bounce a 4-drop or less. And then in GT specifically, I think giving the additional 10k to be a 30k if you need to. That also drew a card, that also potentially bounced a card. I do like the 2-up. I think I'm a fan of it. But otherwise, the deck's going to do Glorio, a lot of Glorio this tournament, a lot of people playing into it, a lot of people not playing into it, forcing your opponent into awkward lines. Oftentimes, just having a 25k on board that net you a card, often pretty good. Otherwise, a 25k for 2, if you have the energy marker, even if it's not your opponent's, not terrible. I got the 3x, or 3 of the 10x Kamehameha, and then the rest of the deck pretty standard. We got our Hercules, and then we've got our 1-drop targets to kind of round it all out. 3 of the Double Striker, which Double Striker still a very good card. So congratulations to Natty there on the GT, one of my favorite leads going into this format. And then we got Emil. So for what you guys will see, Emil very similar to Andrew Duval in terms of the list. The biggest differentiation that we'll see here is that he is running the Bulla. Emil having made changes to his list because he actually played randoms in the finals of the LCQ. And randoms' strategy was to just not attack. I'm never going to let you awaken, which really is definitely different than what a lot of people have been doing up until this point in the brand new format, the short time that we've had with it. And so made some changes to the list here, and we can see the Bulla integrated into this list versus what he was playing over in the LCQ. I still got the couple of Gohans here, no resisting destinies, but we are on the 10x Kamehameha. And then we've got the promo baby here, which has been doing a decent amount of work, right? It's not a phenomenal body, but it's not terrible. A 20k that replaces itself, also a 10k combo that you can combo away afterwards. Not too shabby. Otherwise, 4 of FS3, 4 of the Trunks. We got 3 of the 4-drop Great Ape here, and then 2 Double Strikers. So much more mid-rangey, but we are actually going to see an aggro list as we go through here from Gabriel. So here we've got 1337 Kitchen, and then I understand it's like Elite Kitchen, depending on how you read it, with Halo Coup. The deck that just kind of does what it does here, leaning on some of that brand new support. We have the new 1-drop Videl, which is an uncommon, but the uncommon that can do quite a bit of work in terms of being able to turbo out the 2-drop Videl as well as the Vanilla, which doesn't seem too crazy, but when you know that the Videls recur themselves, recur cards from your drop, and then if in the right matchup, you can get like the 1-drops, the Sharpeners, the Erases, and then be able to recur over and over again things like the Great Saiyaman, as well as you prefer girls with short hair, the deck will just do what it does. Not too many changes in terms of like what it was going into the end of set 3, but now with a more centralized Videl package, and then we got the top end of the brand new secret. I still don't know if I'm a believer in this card. I don't think I am, but like in the right positions, like 240k swings can be pretty nasty. But we're at a point now where a lot of other decks now can 1-for-1 on a stronger or faster, better level than blue can. So I think blue might have a little bit of an identity crisis moving forward. Either way though, did perform well enough in the meta. Shifting on over to Pop, and Pop actually played it very differently than TK Top here. Played it a much more slower, methodical Boo deck that had a lot more interaction, and I think the logic here being that like I have a deck that can explosively not only rip cards out of your hand, but do a lot of damage out of an empty board. And so I'm going to take that opportunity to be able to gauge whether I need to go in or not. And then when the right time comes, I have the right engine to be able to really close out the game. Otherwise, I can control you out of the game, force cards out of your hand, chip you away, knowing that you are scared that I'll eventually get there. So this is definitely a more mid-rangey go big version of the deck that has the ability to be explosive here. We see that with the 4 Gokus, the 3 Final Explosions, the 2 Golden Friezas, and then the 2 Tech Vegetas to be able to protect our board from mass destruction. Only running 3 of the bodies here, very interesting, into a 4-4-4-3 lineup of all the blues with the 3 Berry Blue from the previous sets. And then a card that he leaned on a lot in this tournament actually is a Blind Spot Absorption. So it's an active battle where the card in combat gets 20k on the opponent's turn, so it's defensive. And then if you want, you can get the additional, you can use the additional 1 to instead draw a card and then rest mode the opponent's card. So the flexibility there, having the 1 energy to get ourselves out of combat, using 2 energy if we want to prevent something from our opponent's bad sequencing. And that is something that we saw him utilize time and time again when he jumped up on stream. Otherwise, just typical list, we're running some cantrips, running some consistency pieces and going from there. But very much a different way that Boo is being played versus what we've been seeing and typically seen from most other competitors. So love the ingenuity there. Gabriel Aguilar is actually our 3rd baby player that we're going to see today and is leaning more on the aggressive side of things. So we see the Machine Mutant package here. We see the more streamlined deck, and this is very much in line with what we've been seeing with most other babies that we've seen in pre-season tournaments here. So 4 of essentially everything. This is such a clean list. And of course, kudos to Gabriel, old Masters player, taking his skills over into Fusion World and will be representing as one of the North American representatives in the World Championship. So I mean, what am I going to say? 4 of everything. That's what this deck is. The big tech here being the 2 double strikers to top it off. Otherwise, it's just, hey, does it say Machine Mutant or Brainwash? Then we're going to put it in the deck. So good job here, Gabriel, on his fantastic piloting to lock himself a top 4 position. Moving over, Mindis here, the start of Vegeta. Very interesting to see like how blue is going to, like what identity is going to come to in this set. And the biggest thing that catches my eye here already, we've got 4 of this a 4-drop Gotenks permanent. If you have 10 or more cards in your drop, it gets 5k power, so it's a 4-drop 35k. And then on play, place 2 cards on top of your deck in your drop, and choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards that cost 3 or less, and send it to the bottom of the owner's deck. So obviously playing, between the Gotenks, between the Gohan, definitely playing into, I'm going to tempo, as well as just make sure you never have a board. We have 3 of the secret rare here, and then 3 of the Go Big secret rare here. And then we got 2 of these Vegetos, brand new in set 4. For 2, you get to discard 1 card from your hand, place this card in its owner's drop, and then you have 10 more cards you drop. You get to play 1 Vegito, cost of 5. So obviously that allows us to go into this guy here, and then afterwards we're able to play out our opponent to then get into the 6-drop eventually. So other than that, I mean, we're playing the 3-drop Gotenks, which lets us go into the 4-drop Gotenks. So a lot of chaining here. I think that's what my concern with this deck is, that it maybe is a little too reliant on cards finding other cards. But nevertheless, Vegeta is going to do what Vegeta does. We've been saying that since the get-go. Got some 4-drop Marins here. He's able to, if you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand, look at the top card of your deck and then place it at the top or bottom of the owner's deck and then draw 1. So a little bit of a scry draw there as well. So blue deck going to do what a blue deck does. Not too crazy here, but it is nice to see some of the newer package cards seeing some play. Moving on over to Nicholas Nash, another Halo Coup, and kind of doing a lot of what we see here, leaning into a bit of some great Saiyaman 2, but still utilizing the 1-drop Videl. And then not a full 8 of package between them, but still 7 cards between the 2 of them. And then the rest of the deck is going to do what the deck does. We did actually end up seeing him utilize Final Hope Slash to some level. Unfortunately, Nicholas was paired up to Dane when we got them on stream, and Halo Coup versus Daima Coup, who can give negative 5k at will on board, does make it tough for the strategy to be able to utilize that Satan City stuff. But if you are able to stick Satan Cities, and then you're in a position where your races and your sharpeners are just giving you the ability to be able to like get into all of your extra cards and recur them over and over and over again with Videl, crazy stuff. You spin your tires a lot. Sometimes it's really fantastic. Sometimes you're just spinning your tires, not really getting anywhere. But hey, the deck worked out, and congratulations on the placement. Then we've got Tony himself with another baby, most represented deck in the room. No surprise there. Your boy did shout out that I was going to make some top placements. And here we see another take of the mid-range deck. So we've got the 4-drop here. Of course, we've got the 4 Trunks, 3 Gohans. So I'm very curious to see if these Gohans are going to stick around in future iterations of the deck. Then we've got the Goten Bulla here, so full playset of the Bulla. And then nothing too crazy here outside of just, for the most part, mid-range package. The 1 of SS3 is very interesting. And then the 3 double strikers to kind of round it out. All right, then moving on to Doug, and I believe this is our final super baby here. And the list, Machine Mutant. We love to see the Machine Mutant aggro. Not too much diversion here. We do have the Super Sigmas, which is kind of techie. Some people have been playing it, some people have been not. We did see some use in Eggman's tournament right before Nationals, but otherwise Machine Mutant is going to aggro the way Machine Mutants aggro. And then finally, to close it out, DBS God here with the Bardock. So more black representation. Black is an extremely strong color going into this format. We've been saying this, and it's definitely showcasing itself here. Was really close to being a top deck in the previous format and continues to do so here. In terms of the Bardocks that we have to kind of round out our strategy, nothing really. We've got the 3 of Bardocks here, but really we're just using Bardock because we're able to clean up our draws with his scry ability, and he's a 25k swinging leader. Otherwise, Black is going to do what Black does with some of the best cards it has available to itself in the format. And that's the round out of the top 16. Once again, congratulations to the player. Thank you guys so much for providing me all the information to be able to make this top cut, but as well for performing the way that you all did at this tournament. I'm very excited to see our top 4 representatives and how they do at Worlds. So with that, I hope that everyone in North America is able to provide them their support as they look for testing and the ability to take on the rest of the world in January. So with that said, that was North American Finals Top 16. Thanks everyone who dropped by this stream. Looking forward to having more opportunities to be able to explore this format. You guys let me know in the comments down below which deck list we saw was your favorite. What do you guys think of the upcoming format? As now we've got a little bit of time post-tournament to be able to chill, try things out, and see how we can contest against all these phenomenal strategies that these top tier players have come up with. That's it. I'll catch you guys on the next one.